So it's a pleasure to have this opportunity to sit down with Michel Levasseur. Michel is a pillar of the Quebec festival and music scene, and he is the founding director of the Festival International de Musique Actuelle de Victoriaville, which I believe is celebrating its 40th anniversary soon. Is that correct?
Well, we've been on for 40 years, but we stopped twice.
Right.
So this year we presented our 38th
Okay,
edition.
interesting. Yeah, okay.
But the organization platform responsible for the festival is 40 years old, and
Right.
the first festival was in December 83.
Okay. So your work as a curator of experimental music has been really influential for many of us, including myself. It's been very inspiring, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. Perhaps as a starting point, I know that your background, you've told me, is in forestry.
Yeah.
So how did you get from a background in forestry to organizing a festival of experimental music here in Victoriaville?
Yeah. Well, I always liked music, but I studied forestry. And during my studies of forestry for 1 year, my coloc, I live in an apartment with Jean Beauchesne. Jean Beauchesne was the artistic director of the Quebec Festival,
Okay.
Festival d'été.
Oui.
And then he introduced me to the kind of ECM music,
Yes,
like
yes.
Nana Vasconcelos
Oh, yes,
was one of the
yes.
first concerts I saw at the Quebec Festival. And then we invited Nana to Victoriaville. And then after my studies, I went to Europe and I lived for nearly 7 years, 76 to 82 in Scotland.
Okay.
And for working there, and also I met people there, and I had no plan to stay there so long. And then there was an organization called Platform presenting a jazz festival or jazz concert during the year, and I was very interested while going to concerts, and I saw Derek Bailey there.
Yeah.
Evan Parker and company people,
Yeah.
There were more people or about the same on stage than in the hall, 5 or 6
Right.
or 10 if there were 10, And also that's where I connected also with Henry Cow.
Okay, yeah.
Musically, I didn't talk to the people, I didn't try to organize concert, but then I came back to Victoriaville and fell in love with the area again. It had changed a lot,
Okay.
and lots of community work here. You could have your car worked out in a community garage. You could have your food in a shop where it's a community organization. It is a center of the community life in the whole Quebec. A very important center for community services. And also there was quite a lot of musicians and theater people, and so all the people living the towns like Montreal, living in the countryside, that kind of crowd was here, So it was very interesting, and I started to stay here, but with no plans of staying forever. But we put out a little organization, 6 of us. We call it Platform.
Okay, yes.
And also we put $50 each in a box, and we presented 6 concerts of non-commercial music.
Yes.
Even dance, and then with $300 we didn't lose any money at these 6 concerts, but we didn't make anything,
Okay.
and there was no future of doing this in one concert in the bar, one concert at the Cégep, the dance.
And what year was that?
82.
82. Okay.
So then in Quebec at that time, that's where most of the older festivals were born or started, because they were kind of money to start an event. And then we applied to make a festival, and we wanted to make it in October. and then all the grants application fall through. We had no money for that. So in the summer, in July, I don't know how, but I decided to go to see the Symphony Orchestra of Montreal. At that time, the Symphony Orchestra was going around in Quebec, playing in different towns. They had a program like spreading the music, and I explained them my plan and my kind of festival. We call it Musique Actuelle straight from the beginning, because we didn't want to be a jazz festival, a rock festival, or a classical contemporary music festival. So the word actuel was used in other arts, more in dance, in visual arts. So we call it Musique Actuelle. And the symphony was interested in July, and the only date they could make it was in December. So we had 12 concerts. I think we phoned all the other acts, and they all moved to December. Nobody had a tour organized or had a concert in mind in December. And we presented the first Victoriaville Festival with the Symphony Orchestra of Montreal at the Colisée.
Okay.
And we attracted 1,500 people for that concert, and 1,500 people, total of 12 other concerts, with $40,000 only.
Yeah.
And with nobody being paid.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
I
remember those days.
Nobody being paid.
Yeah.
Even the sound people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nobody got paid.
Yeah.
And then there were Fred Fritt, and there was Nana Vasconcelos on the first festival. Only those two musicians. And then we build up year after year, and it's a work in progress. Actually, we really didn't know exactly what we were doing, how far we would go with this, and it keep going on, and we are 40 years later.
Here you are. So you talked about your time in Europe and being inspired by what you saw in Scotland. Were there other inspirations? Because the festival that you have founded here in Victoriaville is unique, certainly unique in Canada, but maybe unique in the world in terms of the emphasis on the kinds of music. You made a decision, you said, to present Musique Actuelle from day one. It's great. As I said, it's very inspiring. And were there other things in Europe that inspired you to have that vision?
Well, another concert was the Grateful Dead, and Jerry Garcia in Edinburgh in a fantastic theater. 3 hours without stopping, and that Jerry Garcia smiling all the time while I was playing.
Where was that?
In Edinburgh.
Okay, Edinburgh,
And so, I was always interested in many kind of music, but in all kind of new things, creative and unknown. And so the idea was to try to present a wide range of music here from the beginning. I don't think there are few festivals like this in Europe.
Yes, that's right.
But most festivals are concentrating in one kind of music: electronic music, or rock, or contemporary. Or jazz, or improvised. They are some. Nichols Duff is improvised music from the first concert this I can't. Well, I've been to Nichols Duff and I can do it once, but for me it's very important that the different moods. You can go from noise to complete silence.
Right.
And but to keep on the saxophone like 4 days, it's a disaster. I feel for my head. But then I went to visit all those kind of festivals, electronic festival. I tried to go to event that I don't know, and also smaller than us or bigger than us. Just to find out about the music, but also the organization and what is good to do or what is bad to do, and not. I went the beginning of Victoriaville, I went to Mers Festival.
Yeah, I was wondering about Morris. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Mers Festival and I hated it so much. I like the music,
Yeah.
but I hated it so much to have in front of the stage an area for photographers, journalists.
Yeah.
And then also at that time they had television. So they in the crowds, there were these cameramen, sitting on and going like this. And then I said, never we do this in Victoriaville, So I found out something.
Yes.
And in Victoriaville, we have only one photographer doing all the photos, and we don't give accreditation to photograph for media. Just one guy who writes or one woman, but one person who writes, and then we provide the photos. And we've been very strict about not recording and not do this and that. Even now, it's becoming more difficult somehow to get people out of their bloody telephone and disturbing the audience and things. But so no, I like from the beginning we liked this variety of music, and also to bring different musicians together from different worlds, different influence. It's very important. It's always been very important, and to open up also your mind, just not just to stick on one side of the corner of the 25 cents.
Right.
You turn it around. But there are few festivals in Europe still, like Wels in Austria. It's very close to us. At one point there was Nancy Vendôme.
Yes.
Now they changed over. The artistic director is going more into contemporary things and electronics. But then those two were something very close to us. Mm-hmm. But then festival like the company I talked to you, very important. FMP festival, very important. So they are amazing event in their own sector of music, but very important.
And so what made you think it would work here in Victoriaville to bring that kind of music to this community? I mean, that's the interesting thing, right? Like you're not Montreal, you're not Toronto, you're not Vancouver.
Then at the beginning, we worked. The message was that, like in Europe, it is possible to have an artistic event outside of the main.
Yes.
This you find a lot in Europe.
Yes, absolutely.
This you find a lot in Europe. So that aspect was very important for me to have discovered.
Great.
There.
Yeah.
So it was why in Victoriaville. Then I could easily say, well, why not in Victoriaville? And in Europe, it's not all in Paris,
no,
it's not all in London, etc. Yeah. And then it was, you can start talking about in a small place, the advantage of a small place brings people, it's very intimate, you're close to the artist, the audience, after a couple of years know each other, a bit like going to Guelph.
Yes, that's right.
You had a festival there for many years, and it's not Toronto,
No, exactly.
The same feeling.
Well, as I said, I was inspired in part by what I saw you doing.
Yeah. You can't have the same feeling in a festival
it's very special,
like in a small town than in a big town where people go to a concert and then another crowd go to another place and nobody know each other. So, but for the music, we didn't know it would work. I mean. Basically, we did this from the beginning because we were a group of people from the area who wanted to live in the area. Mm-hmm. And we started this, and it's kind of worked. It took a long time before I could even pay myself on a full wage all year round. But we were on unemployment part of the year, but basically there were other people from on the first board. We had someone in theater, we had a musician, we had people who wanted to live here.
Yeah.
And then this festival kind of grew up difficult, and then at the third one we came international.
Okay.
and sometimes we it's unbelievable, but we wear hip kind of things,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
That's where it happens, and you know, we talk to you. Then the New York the newspaper in New York
Times,
came to Victoriaville, and all, you know, so the word of mouth keeps spreading.
It's very powerful. Yes,
it's very powerful.
Yeah.
And that's what it's dangerous to lose.
Yes.
You know, because people talk less now. You know, I didn't think I would be talking about this so soon in our conversation, but we really want, we've been working very hard to presenting live, you know, to present it not on the website and during this pandemic. And I'm so much against all these photos and filming and, you know, recording the concert and sending images to your friend and say, oh, because people should go to a concert and listen to the music and then talk to someone else about it and not show a photo, you know. And it's very, at the moment there are people, you know, just going into a hall, taking a photo and going out of that hall. I went another place I went to recently, 2018, I think it was, Big Ears Festival in the States, which was influenced by Victoriaville. The guy said there, he saw Fred Frit and Han Benning play. He came here and he saw that in Victoriaville, and he said, how come you can do that in Victoriaville? Me, I have a big town, you know. Yeah. And he has a big organization doing big rock festival in stadium and things, and he's a guy who likes that kind of music. So now he's doing this fantastic festival, Big Years. But there were people there. There are so many concerts, 3-4 concerts all the time at the same time. Then some people just walk in, take a photo, listen 10-15 minutes, walk out and go more. Yeah. So that's crazy, you know. And you don't. I feel like here it's always been very, very strict about not overlapping concerts.
That's right. Yeah.
Not overlapping concert, having concert very different kind of music, and having time to talk about things and to walk from one hall to the other. It's a small town. I say you can walk from here to the Colisée and express yourself, you know, and explain what you felt about things, you know. It stays in your memory, and then the word of mouth still works. Yeah. Sometimes I feel it's more the mouth to mouth we need, you know, than the mouth to hear. But no, so it's all part of something to do for helping people to communicate together, you know, to exchange and to because in a place like here, getting people so open, like the musicians, you know, musicians coming from different countries, they are aware of what's going on the earth, kind of things, you know, and and not all of them, but you know, there are more chance to have people open to all the problems and talk about, you know, war and peace and all the.
And many of them are very explicit.
In doing so. It's very important, and so. So the audience gets that into that feeling also. So it's always been a very interesting, very, very intense. Those festivals, you know, that's a good thing about festivals. Can be very intense and lots of exchanges, and you know, it's serious and funny. You know, it doesn't need to be too serious. People think people here. Did make a wrong idea about this music, that it's too much in your head. But I mean, you can, if you listen to Merzbau, I mean, you don't need to jump in the air. I mean, you have to keep your mind in your head, you know. No, so it's very there is people say sometimes they see a concert, it's very Victoriaville type,
Right.
very.
You know, you were talking about the role of the artist, and you know, artists who have perspectives that are important for the audience to hear at these events. Maybe I can ask you a more general question. Why are festivals important? Why is it important for us to be organizing festivals? What is the work? The conference we're doing is called The Work That Music Festivals Do. So what is the work that music festivals do in the world?
Well, I wrote, I went through, you see, I always write the text of introducing the festival,
program,
the program, very small text, and for us, in our eyes, the festival, the FIMAV, is a social and political commitment. I wrote that in that program for the 30th anniversary in 2014. A form of resistance against conformism and easiness, something like a declaration of peace. I talked a lot about peace and war in those texts. In fact, I was wondering, 5 years ago, I say something about something hands up right in the middle of a declaration of war. So I kind of forgot which war I was talking about 5 years ago, man.
Yeah.
And here we are. There was another war this year. There was another war 3 years ago. And I went back to, I think, 20 years festival, and then there was a war I talked about also, and it's unbelievable. So it's very important for us. For me, it's always been a very. It's part of human engagement. It's not something just about the music about enjoying music. It's part of a necessity. My involvement on a social basis and then on a political basis, because being in such a small town, you're very part of the community here. I mean, if someone comes to a concert and he hated it for somehow, the day after you're walking the streets and
they'll tell you,
tell me, and we've had so what we present, especially because of that kind of music, so new and so disturbing for
some people,
for a lot of people, and sometimes it's really disturbing from people who knows this kind of music. So it makes you think, it pushes you in corners and things like this. So it was really something that was important for us so we could keep working, keep moving. It's a definition of what you are. We've had things here. Fred Fritt, we had at one point 3 concerts in a secondary school. And Fred Fritt was doing his table, guitar table and with brushes and stuff like that. And he took a drill. So the kids were looking at the stage. He took a drill, and it looked like he was making a hole in his guitar, but he was just getting a hole on a piece of board at the back of the guitar, and the kids were screaming and and then we got in trouble, real trouble for that. There was in the hall, in the concert hall, there was the teacher in charge of the music for the whole area here, and he was a classical guitar player, and he wrote and he told people in the media that we were pushing the kids to revolution and stuff like that, And Fred Fritt wrote a letter.
Wow.
And he compared that reaction to Eric Satie, who wrote a piece for Typewriter.
Yes.
You know that piece? I didn't know about that. About Typewriter and a symphony orchestra that made a big thing when it was played, And So it was big cultural shock, that we had to go through. And I could tell you a few other things like this, which happened. So basically, you don't do this just for fun, doing a festival like we do here.
Yeah.
I guess many people find also very serious, important reason for themselves to go through it, because it's not easy. It was not easy money,
No.
And always fighting to be able to present it. There were no concert hall. We had to do the concert hall. We're using an ice rink, and we've been using so many kind of place, and always asking permission to do something that nobody else has done before, and all those kind of things. So it's and the risk all the time that not enough people comes, that you don't get the money, and the grants, you get the answer of the grants after. Sometimes after the festival is through, and
that's right.
All this. So basically, it's really a way to express the world in a way that it is arts, but it is tourism and all these kind of things. But it is really a gesture of a political gesture that we want to say that this is important, this is part of evolution, this is maybe part of getting the world better a little. I don't believe too much in that, but we go a little bit further with this, but it has a big impact, and you have to live in your community, try to explain why you're doing this, and keep going,
Yeah, I think, I have lots of other questions, but I think we're pretty much out of time. But it's interesting. I'll just end by saying that your comments about why we do this and the work that music festivals do in the world, it's really about reinvigorating public life with the spirit of dialogue and community. There's something very powerful about the work that we do.
Yeah, I think so.
But we're probably long over time.
Yes.
So
sorry for that.
No, thank you, Michel.
I had other things like this.
I had other things too. But thanks for taking the time.
Okay, thank you.